The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Get yourselves together. Right. Stand up and live your life. Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Hands up high.
Hey! Welcome to the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini, and we want to thank Allstate, Joe McDonough Family Insurance Agency for sponsoring our show Rise Above. Joe is located at 3665 South Port Apache Road, Suite 105, Las Vegas, 89147. You can reach Joe's office at 702-684-6989. And his email is Joe McDonough, JoeMcDonough at allstate.com. So if you need some insurance needs, taking care of life insurance, car insurance, home insurance, Joe's the guy to go see. And also we want to thank City Athletic Club for sponsoring, partnering up with the Rise Above show with Joe and myself. They're located at 7980 West Sahara Avenue, 89117. So if you want to work out at a semi-private gym with trainers and a nice, I would say intimate type atmosphere, City Athletic Gym is the place to go.
All right, ready to start the show? Mm-hmm. This week on the Rise Above show, Heidi and I were speaking a lot about change. Because in therapy, or whether it's training, or whether it's having to do with changing somebody's look, it really comes down to change. You look at me, is this working?
No, I was going to give you some change.
Oh, okay, yeah. Not that kind of change. I was wondering if our new microphones were working. So change is really important, obviously. It's the most obvious thing when you go to a therapist, or when you go to a trainer, or when you go to a hairstylist. But it's so interesting how, in many ways, people are afraid to change. They don't want to actually change. And there's some people that just never really get a lot out of it. I noticed that in therapy, the first second you start to actually make some headway into getting some progress or change, they back off of it. So some of the three questions mainly today that I wanted to answer is, why is it so difficult for people to change? Number one. Number two, does fear prevent change? And number three, is self-sabotage real, or is it a myth? So we'll be getting into some of that. Do you want to?
I think my experience with the not changing aspect of it, I think a lot of people get fearful because of the support part of the change. If I change, am I going to lose my friends, my family? Maybe the new change that I take on I won't like. So is my decision going to be for the best to improve my life or improve myself, or is it going to be, a mistake that maybe, you have to learn, as you make the change, whether it's going to be a good change or not. I think in my experience, it's more about support. It's the trust factor, trusting yourself, because, we always say trusting other people, and that's part of it. But I think that when people are really trying to change, it's the trust in themselves of what their capabilities and their abilities are. I find it with, now that I work with all my girls for my wellness training, that it's amazing to me that they come into training a lot of times and they have you could tell that they're afraid to walk, they're afraid to step, they're afraid to pick up a weight, whether or not they're doing it right or wrong. And I always tell them you have to trust your body, and you have to, trust that your body's not going to, let you down, mm-hmm. and that you can do things that you never thought you were capable of. And I'm here, so I'm not going to let you fall. I'm not going to let you get hurt. I know, where the baseline to start is. So it starts with the trust and the support of them trusting themselves and supporting themselves, and also the trust factor in who's ever in their life at the time, that the person that's trying to help them facilitate the change, whether it be a therapist, a personal trainer, it could be, like you mentioned before with hair, I find that, women want me to make the decision for them, you know, of what color they should have, what kind of haircut they want to have. And I think sometimes part of that decision is so that if it doesn't go right, we have somebody to blame. So it's kind of like, I want to make a change, but you make the decision for me, because it comes back to I don't trust my own decisions. I'm not sure I have a good support system. So if you make the decision for me, then the fallback plan would be I can blame the other person and I can fall back into the victim mentality, and then I can go back to the comforts of, even though it doesn't work for most people, when they know that they have to make a change, you know, comfort is a nice place to be. I told my daughter the other day about your crab in the bucket story that you told me.
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Yeah, and I said the reason I told her was because I remember when I was training, when I first started training with you, I was going through my own changes of, like, I had to figure out who I was away from my family. And one of the challenges that I faced, I don't know why I'm crying, but one of the challenges that I faced was nobody in my family would support me. I had quit smoking, and people that were in my life were still smoking. Nobody wanted to put down the cigarettes because I put down the cigarettes. So that was my first eye-opener, that just because I have a goal or I need to be healthy, that doesn't mean that the people that love me or that are in my life are going to say, well, I'm putting down my cigarette because Heidi's putting hers down. I'm going to just smoke in front of her, and I'm going to do, you know, what they need to do. And the problem is it's not even a problem. The reality to all that is that I had to realize that I wasn't going to get everybody in my life to change because I wanted them to change. So I realized I'm probably going to lose some family and I'm going to lose some friends. And then I remember coming to the gym to train with you, and people would say, you're old, you're fat, you know, what do you think you're going to prove? You know, where do you think you're going to go? And I go, I don't even know. I didn't know where I was going with any of it. I just knew that that was my first step to try to get healthy again, because I had to lose, like, what, 50 pounds or something, and which was nothing when you think about it in the scope of the weight that some people have to lose. But I remember you and I training one day, and I said something to do with my family, and you said, well, did you ever notice when you're on the beach? And I wasn't raised on a beach where there was crabs. I was upstate New York, so we were near Ontario, Canada. We didn't have crabs, but I saw movies of, you know, people carrying buckets with crabs, and, you know, I never thought about it. And you said, well, did you ever realize why they don't crawl out? And I said, well, honestly, Joe, I never thought about it, but now that you brought it up, I thought, well, yeah, you never see the crabs falling out and crawling out the top.
Even though their claws
Even though they have claws
strong.
And they can fight their way out. But the problem is like you said, the one crab, you'll never see him come out because the other crabs are pulling him back down. So my lesson from that was, okay, I'm going to have to probably, it's going to be really hard because you've got to kind of keep going, even though everybody around you is saying, you know, you're too old, you're, what do you think you're doing, whatever. But for me, it was, I finally had to say, I have a trainer, I have somebody that's helping me along, and you know, you told me the things I needed to do. When I went to the smoking clinic to quit smoking, I had help there. I didn't quit smoking totally on my own. I had tried to quit like 5 times or more. I watched my dad die of lung cancer and throat cancer, so if that wasn't enough, it took me, you know, another 5 or 7 years after my dad died to actually put the cigarettes down. But I went to a place, I paid $300 for them to do this, I don't know, it was like an acupuncture thing, and it's supposed to help you with your cravings. Well, they also give you a preparation list that you have to do prior to quitting smoking. These are all the things they want you to do before they'll even do the procedure on you. And so they get you ready, so they get you primed up. I remember after I quit smoking, people said to me, well, how do you know that even worked? Well, whether it worked or not, I think if people would prepare better for their changes, that your goals, you're going to be more successful at where you want to be as far as in welcoming the helpers and the people that are there to help facilitate. Asking for help is not, you know, for me to walk in a clinic and pay $300 to stop smoking. I was like, are you that much of a wuss that you can't, you know, stop smoking on your own? Yes. The answer to that would be yes, because I needed somebody behind me to say, this is the tools that we're going to give you right now to help you on your way. Now, after all that, you're done. They kind of go, okay, we're giving you the tools. Now it's up to you to follow through. But they also said, if at any time you feel like you're going to smoke a cigarette again, you can reach out to us, come into the clinic, we'll give you another shot, we'll give you another acupuncture. So I was like, I remember the first week going, oh God, I want a cigarette. It was like 5 days into it, I wanted a cigarette. And I was going to call him up, and I said, no, you can do this. But the fact that I knew that I had support, I had somebody I could talk to about it, that made a difference. Having a personal trainer, somebody that I could vent to, that, I was, drinking a Frappuccino, and maybe I wasn't following my diet the way I should, and I was having stress at home. Having the person behind me say, well, it's okay. You're here today, let's work out. And that's sometimes what people need, but I find that people just don't want to ask in the first place, because I think it makes you feel like you're kind of a loser. Like you're like, well, why do I need help? Well, we all need help. And unfortunately, I found the people closest to me were not the people that supported me. It was always my friends, or it was people I didn't even know. I remember being in the gym and people going, go. But my own family was like, well, what do you think? You're 40 years old. What are you going to become, one of those bodybuilder people? Well, as a matter of fact, I did. So, but I would have never thought 12 years ago that would be my journey. So to get back on the whole change thing, I think that people need, when you're going to make a change, you need to plan it out. You need to, maybe journal. I know some people are big on journaling, some aren't, but you kind of write out your list of, what's kind of going on in my life right now. Where do I want to be? And you kind of, once you've set it out in a visual, you can go, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. Now, how do I get here? Well, I may have to go see a financial advisor to help me get over here. If you don't have money, we all have friends. We all have, workshops that we're going to be starting with people that we know in the community that can maybe help at, minimal cost. But it's a fact of recognizing what your life is right now and what you're doing and how it's not working. And stop blaming.
Right.
That's the other thing we do as a society. We blame, well, I can't do this because of that. Well, maybe that's true. Well, then find a way to, simplify your life or get rid of the obstacles. And sometimes it means getting rid of people, actually, which is tough because we want those people with us.
So thanks for being so vulnerable and open. It's tough for you, huh?
I don't know why. Today it is.
Well, any day it is, because, and this is why I love doing our show, by the way, because we don't cut anything and we draw emotional blood. And it's so true of like, why is change so difficult? Well, we get to see it right here of the way I looked at it, and I do, because when we met, I was a trainer way back when, and there is a gravitational pull on every single human being. And I look at it like that. So when I see a person in front of me, that either they're there for therapy, or whether it's for, they want to lose weight, whether it's for personal training, I know they come from an environment. And that environment many times is not supportive, and it does hold them back. So the gravitational pull is, okay, where is it coming from? Like, does this person have enough self-esteem and enough what I would call a calling to be able to leave all the things that they have known and move to a better place? Or is the gravitational pull stronger to their family of origin? And it's a very difficult thing, as you notice, because, and I've noticed too in my own life, like, and again, as I'm saying it, I can feel myself wanting to censor myself because I don't want to hurt anybody. And I'm thinking, well, why should that still bother me? And it's because we try to fit into our families of origin in such a way that maybe we're not allowed to hurt people, so we're not allowed to show outward emotion or to do things that might disrupt the family. And so even to this day, to say my truth, I want to harness it in a way that doesn't hurt anybody, even though both of my parents are not with me anymore. And I still feel that pressure to say certain things in a certain way. So let me put it like this. School in my family an education was not prime. It was not the most important thing. So when I went to school, basically it was a one-man show. It's not like I had a lot of support. It's not like people were saying, well, how are those grades coming along? I knew it was a one-person show that I had to personally put all the responsibility on me, and I should, but there was not a lot of support in terms of, do you need money for college? Like, it was such a foreign thing to me when I've heard, like, most of my friends say, hey, my parents are paying for my college, or they're taking me to a college to look at it, or any of these types of things that people were so excited about going to college for. And I didn't do any of that. I skipped my prom, and I skipped a ton of things to be able to save up the amount of money for my first semester. And it was such a big deal, but I still didn't have enough money for books. So I learned how to really study people and try to remember every word they said. So I was able to pass all my classes without ever having bought a book in the first 2 years of school. And I'm not bragging about that. That was just something I had to do. And I noticed as I got more education, I was leaving my family more and more and more. And I was afraid to talk to them in a lot of ways because I didn't want to sound like the smart guy. And as I made more and more money, I didn't want to talk about money either because the thought was, well, it must be nice. Or, oh, you have a house? You know, and I would invite everybody over to the house to make it nice, but in reality, it was like, I didn't want to be the one guy making it. It was difficult. So every time I did well, in a sense, I was leaving my family a little bit more and more behind. I was known as the selfish one, the one who only thought about himself. I was the bad guy. I was the black sheep, or the way I like to term myself as the white sheep, because to me, I was doing everything right. I was doing the things I wanted to do. I worked out all the time, whereas everybody in my family smoked, and you know, these types of things. So I understand how difficult it is to change. So when I look at someone who's having difficulty, I want to know about the trauma that they've had in the past. You know, like I don't look at somebody and say, well, why is this person doing that? What's wrong with them? I think about, where did this person come from? Because there's definitely something behind that of why they're afraid to break that gravitational pull. So I've noticed that in my life all the time, whether it's through, you know, anything I've ever done, I've always done it alone. So, good.
Well, no, I'm listening to what you're saying.
So I think it's very important. So I can very well connect even with somebody like you. So when I talk about, you know, the crab in a bucket theory, it's like, yeah, they never get out because the crabs will always grab the other one and pull it down. They don't sit there and cheer the other one on. And so it's a very, very difficult process. And studies have shown us that if somebody is 50 to 100 pounds overweight and they go on a diet and a program, they start losing their weight, they're very likely to gain that weight back. And someone would say, well, of course, like it's hard to maintain that type of training. But that's not where the problem is. The problem is that if you're in that range of that much weight that you've gained and then you lose it, the reason why they gain the weight back is the gravitational pull. Most people have gained that weight, about 50% they say in studies, is that they've had sexual abuse. So what they're doing is they're doing things to cover themselves up so they're not noticed anymore. They're like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't catcall me, don't hit on me. I don't want any part of that. They feel shame over it, and they don't want any more. So as they start to lose weight, and then they start getting compliments, and sometimes it's nice, but then you start getting the random guys who, you know, for whatever, they might be nice, maybe they are, maybe they're not, I don't know. But the more compliments they get start to remind them that in some ways they are a sexual being again. And when that happens, it scares them. So it's a psychological thing where they say, okay, I need to go back and hide. You know, and the other part of that is that they feel like they might not deserve something good. Because people who have experienced shame, and really there's only two types of people in the world when you think about it, right? Those people who have experienced shame and the ones who are in denial that they're shameful about something. Because we've all been there. And the ones who are best at saying that we don't have shame, they're the ones who have the most shame. Shame invades every part of your being. Because if you were guilty, you would say, I did a bad thing. Right? I stole money, I did something bad, or whatever it might be. I said a bad word and I offended somebody I didn't want to. I did a bad thing. But shame itself means I am a bad thing. There's something inherently wrong with me. And with people, once they filled with shame, being that it invades every cell of their body, it also invades most of the behaviors that they do. So they live a shame-based life. Now, if you can follow that, they don't know the difference anymore that they live a shame-based life. It hurts so much that it basically goes numb. They don't have much emotion up and down other than maybe anger, maybe some rage, and some depression. Those are about the three that people with very hardcore, am I telling the truth? I can see the way you're looking. You know what I'm talking about. So what happens is this. If there's a fish, right, does a fish know he's swimming in water? No,
not really.
Because he's swimming in water all the time. And so here's the thing. If you're swimming in shame from childhood trauma or abuse when you were very young, do you know when you're not in shame? No, right? Because a lot of it's unconscious. But here's the thing. Now you start to lose weight. Now you go to a therapist. Now you're going, I have some power. That scares them because it's not familiar anymore. And now they feel like there's something wrong. And with that, they go back. Typically, people who are in shame do the same things over and over again. They put the same people in their life to treat them poorly, just like their family did. What happens with that is you'll say, well, how is that possible? The logical part of the brain will not allow for that. Well, maybe not, but it's the unconscious brain that picks out the people in your life most of the time. So what happens is when a person who lives in shame and has been abused over and over, they choose people in their life to remind them of the way they were parented. So to them, it's like it's getting closer to their parents. As dysfunctional and as horrible as it may have been, it's still as close to their parents as they're going to get. So when they start to maybe run into a human being that treats them with love and kindness, number one, they feel like they don't deserve it. That's number one. Number two, they feel like, okay, what am I going to do to make this person angry at me? Because there's no way I can continuously make this person like me. When they find out how bad I really am, this is going to hurt even more than if I didn't meet this person in the first place. So they continuously are on that shame cycle. So when you see people and it's like, well, why is it so difficult to change? There you go. It's like, okay, you might be getting an education now. You're going to meet new people that you're like, well, how does it seem that my own family is not the ones to support me, but people who I don't know in school support me? How is it that people in the gym support me who I don't even know, but yet my own family doesn't support me? Or in your case, when you were married, how is it that people you've never met before, but they'll give you a little wave when you go on a Stairmaster because they know that you are making a conscious effort to improve your life, yet you have a husband at home that is trying to degrade you, shame you, and that actually makes you feel comfortable, and that's the fight. So you're like, well, do I deserve that, or do I deserve the people who are clapping for me when I come to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning? And that's a big, tough battle, right? You didn't make that decision with the snap of a finger, right? It was a long, long process. So we'll be right back after this message, and we'll try it again.
Let's try it again.
I'm the world's worst cleaning lady. I'm here in your home having a pretty spectacular Tuesday. But I don't notice the loose rug at the top of your stairs. And that's about to become an issue for me. And if you've got the wrong home insurance coverage, my medical bills could get expensive. So get Allstate.
Welcome back to the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini, and we are sponsored today by Allstate, Joe McDonough, and City Athletic Club, Jay John.
All right, so today we're talking about change. It's one of my favorite subjects because when you go into a gym, that's what I'm looking for. If I'm doing therapy on myself or other people, I'm really looking for some good, positive, and productive change. Goal setting. Interesting subject because, for me, because people don't think it's interesting. everybody assumes that you should have a goal, right? That's what we need to do, no matter what you're doing. It's, I need to lose 30 pounds. I need to do this. I need to do that. When you do therapy, you need to write up a treatment plan, and it has goals on it. When you're going to achieve the goal, you know, this type of thing. Here's where I see the problem. Goals are not all what they're cracked up to be, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're in a position, and we all are, we do have some shame, all of us. We all have some rough background, let's say, with things. We're not totally confident people, and if you're saying you're 100% confident all the time and have the greatest self-esteem, I'm going to say you're in denial, because we all have parts of us that we do try to push away from. I think sometimes when you make a goal, it can be, if you're not aware, it can be that you're rejecting your own self. Think about this for a second. So, okay, so we're going to try a little thing we haven't...
But I think that's where the why comes in when you set a goal. Like, why do I want to do this? Am I doing it because society is doing it, everybody else is doing it, or am I doing it because of whatever the reasons? And that's why when you make a list of the whys, why would I want to quit smoking? There's like, I had a million reasons why I wanted to quit smoking.
Right.
Why couldn't I quit smoking? Because I fed into all the BS that everybody told me that it's very addicting, it's hard to quit, you got to do this, you got to do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you're totally right. It's, again, as you move on and you try to be more conscious, you have to look at what your goals are. Like, why do you want that goal? That's very important.
Or why do you want to lose weight? I mean, it doesn't always have to be the cosmetic end of it. We do focus on that and say aesthetically, we would much rather see people that have healthy bodies than overweight bodies. But why, you have to ask yourself, why do I want to lose the weight? Well, I want to lose the weight because I don't like the way my clothes look on me. I want to lose the weight because it's very hard for me to walk. I want to lose the weight because, you know, I know I'm borderline diabetic, and I know if I don't lose some weight, I'm probably going to die. So, you know, if you know the why and you're doing the why for you, I think that's the most important thing, is that you focus on the why is for you, because if you're doing it for other people, you will fail. Because the reason you're going to fail is because when you do it for other people, you're looking for their validation, you're looking for their approval, you're looking for the support, and guess what? We just said this earlier in the show. 90% of the time, they don't support you, so you're going to fail.
No, they won't.
So if you know the why, and maybe go into the why knowing that, you know, you're probably, and I've said this to my daughter, I said the problem, and I've said this to my training girls, you know, when you decide to make a change in your life, the smallest little change, you have to be okay to give up a friend, or you have to be okay to give up a pet so that you can live in a certain different environment. And, you know, we all think that we can stay where we're at and try to change, and it's like sometimes you can't. You have to move on.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally agree. Let me trace back just a little bit, because I want to show how important it is to make the correct goal. Like, for example, what do you think would be a good goal for me?
To let go of some of the control in your life, everything being so, because I see that you get
fair
stressed.
enough. All right, so let's go with that. So what I hear you saying is that you prefer a man who's much more spontaneous than me.
No, I prefer.
But you get what I'm saying?
No, but I'm just saying. No, what I'm saying is that you have when you're in such a mode in your life that everything is done in such a and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I see how me looking at you, and I shouldn't do this because maybe you're perfectly fine with everything, but I look at you sometimes and I go, why can't that guy just relax just a little bit? Just let go of the thing and just say, you know what, it's okay if I fall asleep and I take a nap in the middle of the day and I don't have to feel guilty about it. You work hard. Yeah. Why do you feel that, you know, the need that on every day at a certain time this has to be done or that, you know? I mean, I understand it because I have a little OCD, or I have control issues too. But me looking at you as a partner, I think, you know, just let your hair down once in a while. But I think that'd be a really difficult thing for you to do.
Yeah, no, listen, I understand what you're saying, and you know, I would take it into consideration. I actually kind of agree with you. But where I'm saying is that there's a fine line between making a goal that's actually a correct one. Like I wrote them down.
Oh, excuse me.
You have to know Why do you want the goal? Okay, and it has to be from you. Number two, what does the goal represent to you? The goal itself, what does it represent? And number three, does your goal actually improve your personhood, you know, as a human being? So let's take it from here. If you told me that, or let me say it, okay, I want to lose 25 pounds, and then I want to do a bodybuilding show, and if I win, I'll be happy. I see this all the time. What I'm really saying is I'm rejecting part of myself, because what I'm saying is that I'm fat. I need to lose 25 pounds. So if I'm saying it outright that I need to lose 25 pounds, subconsciously or unconsciously, I'm saying I don't like who I am right here now. So there's a rejection of myself. So then when I go to the gym and I go to train with you and I'm late, why might that be? But besides the traffic, what I would say is that because I'm not really that into going to a place where I'm being shamed again by myself because I don't like me and I need to go there to fix me. You get what I'm saying? It's not a good goal unless you're totally aware of it. And if I say I want to do a bodybuilding show, but I'm not going to feel good unless I win, what kind of self-esteem am I going to get when I don't win? So it's not a good goal, and it's also based on judges. If the judges feel I'm good that day, then I win and I feel good. So in my line of work, which is doing therapy and also personal training, that's not a goal unless they're aware. I know in the personal training business right now, everybody, they pretty much get a gym membership, and then there's trainers jumping all over them trying to get them to do shows, and they're destroying the psyches of hundreds of girls almost every weekend. I mean, it's just horrific. It really is. You know, and these girls get their self-esteem off of doing like Instagram and all this stuff, but that's not self-esteem, that's social esteem, and their self-esteem only lasts as long as their first tablespoon of peanut butter, and then they hate their own guts again. So I'm saying it can be a good goal. It can be. If I told you...
goal setting is, but when you said about self-esteem, I think one of the things with, like, I always use my daughter as an example, with her and all the stuff that she's gone through, and that's you know, her thing. And it's something that she's gonna have to deal with forever. And you know, and I've told her from day one, you're not a victim, so forget about it. You're just gonna have to figure out a way to figure it out, you know. And the why for me could be now, because you don't always know it at the time, but I say in my workshops, once I finally get them going again, that we model for our children, we model for our sons and our daughters. So by me being consistent with the changes and the goals and the determination and all the things that I have in me that I didn't know I had before, my daughter, there's a trust level there with her now with me, because she knows that no matter what, my mom's been consistent. Now, I might not have been consistently the best mother like her whole life, because there was other factors that were in my life that maybe affected my mood at the time, or, you know, how I was handling, how I functioned, what do they call that, managed everything in our lives. But the last 12 years of my life, I think I've pretty well, I've been on a journey of just trying to improve. It doesn't have to be all bodybuilding. I have anger issues, so one thing for me going into the gym is a way for me to get rid of some of my built-up stress or my anxiety, which I have. And so it not only helped me physically to train, it helps me discipline myself in every other parts of my life. And I think with our children, the goal setting, we emphasize it so much on our kids to do a certain thing and be a certain way, and you have to be disciplined and you have to follow through, and yet there's so many of us adults out there that we're not really modeling or showing our children that, you know, if you truly do something, it's not about just talking about it. It's not about just telling your kid, you need to do this so that you become this, or you need to, you know, join a karate team or something so that you can see how, you know, amazing you are. You know, it's about, sometimes the parents need to, and the adults, not just parents, but all adults need to kind of be an inspiration or a model for their children all the time, you know, not just you know, and I think the reason Ava was able to, Ava's done a lot of work for a young, you know, person, and I think because she saw people around her that were doing the work also. You know, she has somebody over here that she can look at and go, they're not doing any work, and this is where they are. This person over here is doing the work, and their life seems to be better. And I think that's where the trust part comes in, that, you know, she's learned to trust herself and trust me that I'm consistent. So I might be a consistent bitch on some days, and I might be a consistent, I can be consistently bitchy, I admit that, or whatever. But she knows consistently I have done, and I've stayed pretty, you know, and there's where the trust comes in. Where
Right, and I think a lot of what you're saying too, again, whether it's therapy, which I think training is therapy in the gym too, by the way, it is, you know, anti-stress, but you get much more out of it than just losing weight. The thought of losing weight should not be the only goal unless you're aware of that. You know, to put it and say, like on June 1st, I want to be 20 pounds lighter.
right.
Yeah, if you have a show or a photo shoot or you're trying to get into a certain size dress for a wedding, you know, I get that. But if it's only about that, that's not really going to create it's not going to improve yourself as a human being.
It's a journey. You know, when we talk to our clients about, when my girls come in, you know, I hear that all the time. I gotta lose 50 pounds by August, and it's like, you know, March, April, whatever it might be. I got like 3 months, but I try to tell all my girls when we talk before they even start training with me that this is a journey. There isn't a finish line, okay? Because if you're serious about your health and your body, you have to figure out a way to do it it's a lifestyle. So how can this lifestyle fit into your life now? So that doesn't feel like another job, because a lot of my girls, your clients too, they work, they're career women. You don't want to create a stressful thing for them, but it's true. Why are you here? You know, and most of the girls I train are middle-aged and they're older, and they're there because they want to feel good about themselves again, because they've let their lives get in the way.
And I like what you said, they want to feel good about themselves. And again, it's not about the weight, it's consistently doing something, showing dedication, you know, being able to say no to other people so you make time to go to the gym. In other words, being able to create boundaries in your life, and being able to tell people that what's important to you.
Well, and like with our situation with Ava, I keep bringing her into it because it's a really good one to use. Ava has seen me not talk to family members because of things that have happened to her, and I'm okay with it. Yes, it's painful, it hurts. You go, well, but sometimes, like I've said before, doing the right thing hurts. She sees that I'm okay to be alone, and I don't mean alone that I want to be alone. I mean that I'm okay to be able to do what's right for me, and it's okay if it's not okay, it's not right for them. And she's seen that you know, after, you know, being with her dad for 22 years, I had to move on. You know, I've moved on with friendships. I lost friendships when I went through my divorce, and I went through, you know, whatever I needed to do. So you also learn that you have, I think the word of the week is tenacity. Like I heard that it said about me the other day, and I never thought about that about myself, but I guess if somebody was to describe that, which you did say somebody said that about me, I would say yes, I'm pretty tenacious, and I will keep going, and I will never, you know, I'll always be open to, you know, change, and open to people saying this is what maybe you need to do to be better. And I think that's the other thing that people have to understand too, that if you want to change, if you're going to somebody for help, or you're going to a counselor and you're going in there because you need to make some life changes, you have to be open to, not everything is going to be what you want to hear.
Right.
And it doesn't always feel good when you have to make choices. Say, I have to end a relationship with a friend, or because they're just not, we all know who's good for us and who's not.
Yeah, and like I was going back a while back, and that contrast is going to make people feel very unsafe for a while, because it's new, it's wholly unfamiliar, but that's usually the path to go. Before we end, I also want to answer this question about, I've heard it like a lot. Does fear prevent change? Because people say, well, I'm afraid to do that. So what's the answer? Well, there's a lot of answers. Does fear prevent change? Yes. For a lot of people it does. But why? That's the thing. Why? It's because they're fearing failure. They're fearing the unknown, something that's totally unfamiliar. But here's the other part to it. When we fear failure, or we're fearing to get hurt or to change anything, we're living in what we would call a survival type brain, or in some people's circumstances, a trauma type of brain that's afraid to break out, because as bad as things might be, we're going to be okay with it because what's behind that wall or another few steps forward could be even worse. So we just buckle down and say, things are bad, but I'm used to it, and I don't think it'll get any worse than this. So you stay there. It's what we call learned helplessness, which you see all over the United States right now. That's why we have an opioid crisis. It's not because drugs are so great and everybody loves to be homeless and on the street shooting up. It's because they feel totally helpless in their ability to make their lives better. That's one. It's also back to what we said in the beginning. People who are in that situation, they live shame-based lives, and they don't know any better, they don't think they can do any better, and they just make it worse. So my other part to that question, again, does fear prevent change? I'm going to tell you this. For a lot of people, fear is poison. And I totally understand that. But to me, fear is a supplement. Fear is medicine to me. Before we started the show today, again, I had to leave. I've been doing this for 5 years on the air, and I get really scared, really nervous. I told John I got to run to the bathroom. Again, is it going to get any better? Here's the answer. Probably not. And the funny thing is I don't even want it to get any better at this point anymore. I accept my fear for what it is. I don't know why I'm totally fearful. I think it's because underneath all of the I like who I am and I do what I want when I want, I still seek approval. There's no doubt about that. And again, I think there's two people in the world. Those who seek approval and the ones who are in denial of seeking approval.
Here's the other part, like what you just said about the approval thing. Remember when we did that thing on Sunday, I was going to bail out at the last minute because I got scared. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not even prepared. But the reason I continue to do it is because you were there and you said, you'll be fine, you'll do fine. And I felt that all the people that was with me in that particular moment was going to support me, even if I sucked, and I didn't feel like I was being judged. And I think
You weren't.
And that ended up to be something that I was like, wow, that was
You know what we
amazing.
judged you on? Your ability to face your fear. The ability to face your fear and to do the best you can.
Right.
And that's all anybody could expect.
But if I would have been in there, the thing is, and this is going to apply to what we're talking about, if I would have been in an environment where I was scared when I walked in there, and
Right.
everybody that I was with was going to make fun of me, or they weren't really, or I was being set up for some kind of, I don't know, whatever.
Right, from your family of origin.
Right.
Right, like if you cut that back for a second, I know we only have 3 minutes, so
Yeah.
I know I'm pushing you a little too fast, and I would not do that normally. But you can cut that back to say, okay, where did you get that in your life? You don't need to answer that question, but obviously it was something with your mother and father, and you were probably shamed in some way, shape, or form when you were powerless to do anything. And then you were with the husband that you repeated the same thing because it was familiar to you. And then somebody like me comes along with, I'm very unconditional in my care, especially as, you know, as a trainer, let's talk about for now. And it shocked you. You had no idea what you were in for. You're like, hold it, what's going on here? This is totally weird. Like you couldn't even deal with it emotionally at first. So it's an emotional experience. I know we got to leave, but I just want to tie up this bow about fear of failure. Because I want to tell you, if you have fear of failure in front of you, it prevents you from doing all the right things that you need to do to get the job done. Okay, you might not make that phone call. You might not make that conversation. You might not ask that girl out. You know, you might not do whatever. You're going to hold back. But I have intense, intense fear of failure. How do I do it? I do it because my failure is not in front of me, or my fear of failure is not in front of me. It's behind me. I am scared to death of what would happen if I didn't do the right things. I fear being poor. I fear being unsuccessful. I fear being a loser. these are the things that I fear. And what happens when you don't go outside of your comfort zone? The truth is, you will be unsuccessful. You will not make as much money as you should. Your relationships are going to suck, and then you're going to wonder why. Because you have a fear of moving forward. If you can reverse that, and it's very easy to do, I actually take great pride in my fear. I am the best at motivating myself through fear. I don't want to die, and I don't want to be a loser. So I've tried to figure this out. Do you realize I've worked over like 80,000 hours as a trainer? Figure that out of how many that is. That's a consistent over 50 to 60 hours a week, every week, for 30 years. And that's undercutting it. Why? And just like you said, can I sit down and relax? I'm working on it. Because when I sit down and relax, that to me equals a lot of people in my family living hand to mouth, being poor, wondering if the knock on the door means you're going to be evicted. So to me, it's about fear of failure. Yes. Fear, I love fear. Fear is good. Let's just put it in the right perspective. I've got a lot more to say. We'll do that on some other shows. Did you want to finish up with something?
No.
I have one last question.
Oh, John,
For Joe.
what is it?
Okay. See, now my unconscious brain is going, he's going to shame me now, and I'm going to look bad in front of everybody. So now my heart's going.
You. I am just trying to instigate your fear mechanism.
It's already there.
So what happens when you reach a point where you don't have to be afraid? Then what do you do? You don't have to be afraid about the knock on the door being somebody to evict you.
You know, that's very interesting. I'll let you know when that happens.
Do you replace that with another fear? You know, you got rid of this one, so you add a new one?
Very good question. You're going to make me think. Okay.
That's the whole point.
Yes. Oh, man, I love that question. Yeah.
Stay tuned next week to find out.
You want me to answer it now?
Yeah, please.
I'll do the best I can in the moment presently. It'll probably change by the time I get in the car and driving back to work. But you're right. I don't think I would be motivated as much. But I think I have been able to find things that continuously motivate me. Because my biggest fear, honestly, I will say I fear dying. So that's going to happen. But then I think, no, that's not my biggest fear. My real biggest fear is dying and not having contributed enough to other people that my name is, I want it to be repeated a few more times than like the day I die, you know? So that will push me to always be of value. So I think, I can't imagine a time when I'm just saying I'm good. I think there's always time for improvement. So that's my story right now.
Okay.
Sound good?
So tune in next week.
We'll do more. So this has been the Rise Above show. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.